5 top blockchain myths debunked here. I'll dive into all 5 of them for you today and will guide you through each of these myths, why it is so important to understand that these are myths and what effect they have on some of these people and how can they be debunked. So with all these myths, these are not like, like casual misconceptions or something. These are misconceptions that some people have and they spread it far and wide. And then, chances are people understand it. It's the problem that we have with misinformation here. And it's mostly about laziness, right? Believing some headlines that some publications are publishing just in order to get clicks and in order to get readers, right? And if they write about like what can be done with blockchain, they don't get much clicks. But if they write about what goes wrong, they get all the clicks, right? And you need to understand that. All right, my name is Blockchain Bernie. I'm broadcasting live from fabulous Las Vegas. And the first myth here is that blockchain and cryptocurrencies are only being used by thugs, right? People think, many people think, that is the main purpose of it, right? They think like, why would anyone use cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology if they don't want to cheat in any way, right? It's like they must have something to hide, right? So with all new technologies, they can be abused, right? Anything and everything can be abused. And it's often in the beginning where kind of the security features against abuse and stuff like that are not that full-blown yet, that, new technologies are being abused. And abuse happens in blockchain, right? And there's there are thugs out there that are, in that space only in order to cheat and defraud people. And that all happens. It also happens in Xandeum's own community. As you all know, we're part of, or I'm the founder of Xandeum, building that scalable storage layer for the Solana blockchain. So yeah, these things happen everywhere, but that's not the main purpose. And there's still the vast majority of transactions are honest and useful transactions, right? And you have the same in like traditional finance, right? With the Visa network or stuff like that, there is lots of fraud going on, right? Yeah, so that's myth number 1. Myth number 2 is that that blockchain and cryptocurrencies are anonymous. And that's like, it goes with myth 1, right? So people think like, oh, it's completely anonymous, so people must have something to hide so that they can do their fraudulent activities, right? And even Jamie Dimon, the famous CEO of JP Morgan Chase, he mentioned that like, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago, that he was talking about Bitcoin as kind of, that's one of the other myths, right? Many people think like, okay, Bitcoin is the most important application of blockchain or stuff like that. So Jamie Dimon said, hey, Bitcoin is at least somewhat anonymous, right? He mentioned at least somewhat, but then it was his argument that it's only for thugs. And and he said famously, Jamie Dimon, if I were the government, I would outlaw it, right? So, yeah. So, but here's the second myth, like it's anonymous. And yeah, it can be pseudo-anonymous, right? So on the blockchain, you mostly only work with some sort of IDs and key pairs and stuff like that. But it is possible to track down these key pairs to an identity, and actually law enforcement agencies have been able to do that in many cases, and they were really able to outsmart these guys that wanted to cheat and wanted to be anonymous. And most of the time, that can be solved by law enforcement agencies, and they just figure out who it was. But otherwise, it's kind of the opposite of anonymous, because each and every transaction is being, embossed kind of into the blockchain in public, in broad daylight, and it's not possible to tamper with it or kind of wipe your evidence there, right? It is one of the most non-anonymous things, right? The only thing is like mapping that digital identity to your physical identity. So that might be at least somewhat anonymous, but most of the cases it can be tracked down if it needs to, right? So, yeah, what is really anonymous, though, is cash, right? So that's kind of the irony of things, where people are like, oh, this is new technology. It must be devil's stuff, and it's anonymous, and people only use it when they have something to hide, right? And then they say, well, let's rather use cash. That's the old stuff, and I know how it works. But man, that is the anonymous stuff. And that, because it's really anonymous, it's being used by the thugs all the time, right? So, yeah, and we have this real cash, not even credit card, but cash tendency. I see that in some areas, not so much here in the US, but in my original country, Germany, there seems to be a big tendency there that people say, like, let's do cash. Well, guys, that's where the thugs are, right? Yeah, just saying. All right, and let's get to myth number 3. Some people think that blockchain is only for tech-savvy people. That's debunked, because everyone in blockchain and cryptocurrencies, they want to get wide adoption, right? So that's why they make really, really user-friendly systems. For example, I've shown you Jupiter a few times. Jupiter, that platform on Solana where you can swap your tokens from one token to the other. Try it out. It's jup.ag. If you have a Solana wallet, just connect it and try it out. It is so user-friendly. And everyone goes after the next billion users. So everyone's competing for product market fit and competing for, simplicity of use and all these type of things. So those were 3, and 2 more myths are coming. But before I dive into the other 2, I have one little request here. Smash and destroy that like button for me, because it really helps us. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It gets the content out to more people. And also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. So myth number 4 is blockchain is bad for the environment, right? So that went out, and it kind of flared up, like, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, when Elon Musk first invested in Bitcoin, and then kind of rode back and said, no, it's actually bad for the environment. And this is not a blockchain thing. And blockchain technology and some cryptocurrency technologies can actually help the world being more efficient with their resources. There can be applications in healthcare and supply chain everywhere that reduces waste. And with the proof of stake blockchains, most of them are most of the cryptocurrencies that are being used on a daily basis are proof of stake, simply because most of the proof of work are a little bit clunky with regards to speed and stuff like that. So there are some that use a lot of energy that probably could be spent better. But, it's like in every industry, right? You have a few players that, are quite energy efficient, and you have other players that are not so much. And, just giving that as a label to the whole industry of blockchain or even cryptocurrencies is kind of a stupid move, right? And myth number 5 is actually blockchain is too complex to understand, right? Many people think that its own, you know, it's like blockchain. What is that, right? And I meet so many people in real life, and they're telling me, "Hey, Bernie, do you understand blockchain? What is it actually?" Right? And that's also a weird misconception, because the underlying principles are actually surprisingly easy to understand. It's just a decentralized and a distributed tamper-proof ledger, right? So a ledger is just a sequence of transactions, right? A sequence of transactions happen, and you put them in a public ledger so that everyone can see them, right? And every entry is linked to the other with some sort of cryptographic hashes, right? And you can think of these as checksums, right? So anyone has heard of a checksum or a check digit or something, right? You have like five digits, and then the sixth one is a checksum, right? You just add them all up and take the modulo 10 or something, and then you have that check digit. So that makes it tamper-proof, right? In the case of the checksum and check digit, it's not really tamper-proof. It's just a little bit tamper-resistant here. But with the cryptographic thing, where we do a little bit more than just a checksum, we'll make it really tamper-proof, right? And with more of these technologies, we can make it censorship-resistant. So anyone can be there, nobody can be excluded, anyone can extend this ledger, and the ledger cannot be tampered with. So that's the whole secret. It doesn't sound that complex, does it? So, all right. So these were my my 5 myths here, and you know, they really go under my skin at times, because it hinders the broad adoption of blockchain technology, which will be good for humanity. Humanity strives to be more and more decentralized, simply because we want more and more that people govern their own lives, and they you know, have control over their own destiny and things like that. And you see that in history everywhere. So blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies are helping with that evolution of humanity. And the thing that's missing is adding that also to the storage and building a storage layer. And the Xandeum storage layer that we're building is actually super, super unique. There's nothing like that out there. And I mentioned in this video the Jupiter platform to swap some tokens. So if you're interested to be part of the Xandeum journey, no financial advice here, of course, but I can really recommend going to Jupiter, jup.ag, and look for the XAND token there, XAND. So that's the token of the Xandeum network, and buy some of these XAND tokens here in the very early days. All right, so for today, thanks so much for watching, guys. Catch you later. Peace.